Picture this: a spare room in your house, the one collecting boxes and old furniture right now, quietly making more money per square foot than most part-time jobs. That's not a fantasy. That's an actual basement in Ohio. 25 trays, one grower, and $715 in net profit from radish alone in a single month. Not a projection, not marketing copy. An actual dated record from a real farm called jPure Farms, where every tray of radish sold for $32.53 against a production cost of roughly $23. Stay with me for the next few minutes, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how that math works, and whether it could work for you too. This channel exists for one reason: to show you real numbers, not hype. No secret the government doesn't want you to know. No guaranteed income. Just verified data, real growers, and honest math. Today, we're breaking down the microgreens business, what it actually costs, what it actually pays, and where most people get it wrong. Let's start with the basics. Microgreens are young, tender plants harvested just 1 to 3 weeks after germination, right after the first true leaves appear. Radish, sunflower, pea shoots, broccoli, amaranth. These are the staples. What makes them different from almost every other crop is the combination of speed and space efficiency. You're not waiting a full season for a harvest. You're not working acres of land. You're working trays, shelves, and weeks, not months. Now here's where it gets specific. And this is the part most videos skip. Let's actually break down what a tray costs to grow, because the profit numbers only make sense once you understand the costs behind them. Seeds are your biggest variable expense, and the cost swings a lot depending on the variety. Sunflower seeds run about $3 to $5 per pound, and a single tray needs roughly 1 to 1.5 ounces, so you're looking at 50 cents to $1 per tray in seed cost alone. Radish is cheaper, 30 to 60 cents per tray. Broccoli is the expensive one. Seeds cost $20 to $40 per pound, but since you only need about an ounce per tray, that still works out to roughly $1.25 to $2.50 per tray. Buy your seeds in bulk, and that cost typically drops another 20 to 40%. Then there's your growing medium: coconut coir, peat-based mix, or hemp mats. Coir and peat run 40 to 80 cents per tray when you buy them in compressed bricks. Hemp mats cost a bit more, 60 cents to $1 per tray, but they cut down on mess and make harvesting faster and cleaner. Add it all up, and a single tray typically costs somewhere in the range of $1 to $3 to grow, depending on the variety and setup. And here's the number that makes this business interesting. A finished tray sells for $15 to $30 in profit, sometimes more, on a cycle that takes just 7 to 14 days. That's not a once-a-season harvest. That's a tray you could be running 2 to 3 times a month. Which brings us to variety selection, because this decision alone can shift your monthly income by hundreds of dollars, and most beginners get it wrong. Sunflower shoots are considered the sweet spot for a lot of growers. Low seed cost, a strong yield of 8 to 12 ounces per tray, steady demand, and consistently solid margins. If you're only growing one thing while you learn the ropes, sunflower is usually it. Radish, on the other hand, wins on speed. Its shorter cycle means the same tray can turn over more times in a month, which is exactly why it outperformed sunflower in our opening example. Broccoli has thinner margins percentage-wise because the seed cost is high, but it commands a premium because of the health angle. Research shows microgreens can carry up to 40 times the nutrient concentration of their mature counterparts. And then there's amaranth, a variety most beginners overlook completely. It's slower, 12 to 14 days, and pickier about temperature. But its deep magenta color makes every plate it touches look extraordinary, and restaurants will pay $25 to $35 a tray for it without hesitation, purely for that visual impact. Now let's talk about where this money actually comes from, because growing the crop is only half the business. Farmers markets are the most common entry point, direct, face-to-face, and forgiving for beginners still figuring out their pricing. CSA-style subscription boxes are another route where customers commit to a regular delivery, which gives you predictable, recurring revenue instead of one-off sales. And then there's the restaurant channel. Chefs actively looking for a reliable, consistent supplier, especially for higher-margin specialty varieties like amaranth or specific herb mixes. But here's the part that separates the growers who make real money from the ones who quit within the year, and half of new microgreens businesses do fail within their first 12 months. The real profit in this business doesn't come from growing. It comes from who's buying before you even plant the seed. Growers who fill their trays first and go looking for buyers afterward run into the same problem every time: unsold inventory, product that wilts on a shelf instead of turning into cash. The real bottleneck in this business has never been the growing itself. It's building customer relationships before you scale production. Growers who lock in committed buyers first and only then grow exactly what's already been promised are the ones who make it look sustainable instead of chaotic. Let's return to the real math one more time, because it's worth sitting with. 25 trays, radish, 7-day cycle. $32.53 per tray sold, roughly $23 in production cost. Run 3 cycles across that month, and those 25 trays generated about $715 in net profit from radish alone. Switch to sunflower, which only manages 2 cycles in that same month because it grows a little slower, and the same trays, the same space, brought in about $486. Same shelving, same lights, same square footage. A $200 swing created entirely by which seed went into the tray. That's the kind of insight that never shows up in a how to grow microgreens thumbnail. But it's the difference between a hobby and a business. Now, an honest pause here, because this channel doesn't do guarantees. This is one grower's documented case, not a universal outcome. Your local market, your competition, your pricing, and your own consistency will all move that number up or down. What this example proves isn't, "You will earn this." What it proves is that this model is real, it's traceable, and it can work if you treat it like a business and not a hobby. So let's talk about where most beginners go wrong, because these mistakes show up again and again. The first and biggest is growing before selling. Trays go in the ground before a single buyer is confirmed, and then the scramble to sell begins after the clock is already ticking. Flip that order, secure the buyer, then grow exactly what they've already agreed to take. The second mistake is undercounting costs. Plenty of guides calculate seed and soil and stop there, completely ignoring your own labor, your electricity bill, and your packaging. Costs that quietly erode a profit margin that looked great on paper. The third mistake is variety tunnel vision, betting everything on one crop, so that a single dip in demand or a single bad batch takes out your entire month's income. A diversified lineup protects your cash flow the same way it would in any other business. And the fourth, the one this channel cares about most, is trusting numbers that can't be traced back to a real source. If you see a claim like $2,000 to $3,000 a month, easy, with no name, no date, and no way to verify it, treat that as a red flag, not a business plan. If you're serious about actually starting this, don't stop at YouTube videos for your research. Official agricultural resources. University extension programs like Penn State's, for example, publish detailed guidance on food safety requirements, disease management, and the real operational side of running a microgreens business. That's the kind of source that should shape your decision, not a thumbnail promising overnight riches. So here's where that leaves us. A spare room, a few $100s in equipment, a crop that goes from seed to sale in under 2 weeks, and a business model that, when you look at the actual documented numbers, can generate real, meaningful income, not because of hype, but because the math genuinely works. For growers who treat customer relationships as seriously as they treat the growing itself. Every figure in this video came from a dated, traceable source, not a guess. not a round number pulled out of thin air. That's the standard this channel holds itself to, every single time. If this breakdown gave you a clearer picture than the vague promises floating around out there, subscribe, because next time, we're taking a completely different small space growing system and putting it through the exact same test. Real costs, real income, real sources, no exceptions. And before you go, tell me in the comments, if that spare room or garage corner were sitting empty right now, which variety would you start with? Radish for speed, sunflower for reliability, or amaranth for the premium price? Your answer might just decide what we break down next.